accidental COVID boyfriend. So we actually met in March last year.
Okay.
And he stayed. So the show's kind of about us as well.
Gordon Southern. This question just came to me just out of nowhere. But can you tell me, I mean, imagine if you can, what would it be like, or what is it like, if you're in the middle of a very, very successful Melbourne Comedy Festival run, and all of a sudden you find out that your tech is ill, and he's unable to make it in, and you've literally got less than...
we go up in 2 hours.
Okay, but we found out when?
8 in the morning, he said, I've been vomiting all night.
Okay, so you've
at 4.
So you've got less than 10 hours to either find another tech or train someone up to do the tech work in your show, which is the most technically involved show you've done so far?
Since the brief history of history, because it's got a little slideshow over here.
Yes.
And it's got some sound cues, which I throw over to my tech, and then I run the slideshow from my own pocket.
Right.
This little dibber-dobber here.
So, can you tell me...
120 cues, but I do maybe 100 of them.
Okay. So what has the last 10 hours been like?
Well, it was nice to know that someone could step in and that they are stepping in, and this is someone called Vicky who does tech at the Arbory near Flinders Street Station, so I'm very confident that she'll be across all the technology, and I've come in early to set it all up and I'll just leave it here.
At what point did you get her? Because you were training your very, very wonderful partner. You were training Ellie. How long were you training Ellie for, and how was she shaping up?
We didn't. I'm up here.
That's right.
We ended up not having to train Ellie, but she's going to watch over Vicky's shoulder in case my tech is still sick tomorrow.
So she will be in effect in training tonight.
We've got a plan B and a plan C.
Okay.
Because plan A is unwell.
Okay. And you seem to be calm now. Can you just describe to me how you're feeling now, how you were feeling 5 hours ago, and how you were feeling 10 hours ago?
Well, the sort of the jumping off point was at 3:30 p.m. when I finally checked in with my sleeping tech, who'd been sleeping all day because he'd been sick all night, and he said, "Yeah, I need the night off." And then there's that little half hour where Vicky didn't confirm, but we still had Ellie on standby.
Right.
So we're good.
Has she done tech before for you?
No, but she's an award-winning event producer, so no slouch when it comes to working stuff out and problem solving. So I was not too anxious. Worst case scenario, we ditch all this. I just tell jokes for an hour. That would be plan
D.
F. D. Plan D is take the night off. So D is tell jokes. F is cancel the show. The new show is called Nisolation because I had a nice isolation. I was lucky enough to get stranded in Australia and South Australia, which didn't suffer as much as Victorians and Melburnians did. So it's about things I'd learnt staying in one place for a whole year, because for the last 20 years I've been on tour pretty much the whole time. So I learnt to slow down, appreciate where I was, stop and smell the flowers, learn new skills. Maybe not many, but yeah, that's the crux. Well, a friend of mine, another comedian called Ben, just went, this isn't a bad thing. This could be an opportunity. So he went on to learn, how to play golf and basketball and stuff. I think I kind of learned how to cook. What did I learn in the last year? Where all the good bottle shops are in Adelaide. I tried to make the best use of my time and sit in the State Library in South Australia and write this show. Kind of do now. I've got a visa, so I've got a house in London, but there's no one in it right now. There was some nurses, there were some COVID nurses there up until about a couple of weeks ago. Well, I qualify now for an extra 5-year visa, so by then I think I'll have clocked up enough miles to take it to the next step. Difficult to say, but quite freewheeling. Everyone who reviews me says, "Oh, you're a bit like Robin Williams," because I sort of skip from idea to idea as he used to do. But I also pride myself on writing good jokes and having a narrative. So every story has a narrative. This one is a quite straightforward linear narrative. It's what happened this year, month by month. I tried to monkey about with it, but it was too hard to learn. So I did it in consecutive order, like what real life is like. Well, I've always been a big fan, but in January of this year, when I was just putting the final bits of window dressing on the show, there was loads of documentaries about the fact that it had been 5 years since David Bowie died. And I went, well, I've been having a shit time since 2016. Maybe the two events are linked. So I threw them together and suggested that David Bowie, in his final breath, cursed the planet with Donald Trump, Brexit in the UK, and then eventually COVID. Do I believe in a comedy god? I've often rolled my eyes to the heavens and said, thank you, comedy god. So I suppose I do. When you get exactly the right person in the audience, but that's planning, and that's having stuff ready to go if there's triplets in the front row, which I was chatting about, that happened recently, or if there's a whole family from Mexico, as I had a couple of nights ago. I went, oh, I've got a whole bit about Mexico. And, you know, is that spirituality, or is that chance? Only God himself knows. And he can't tell me if he knows, because he may or may not exist. I try and give a good message, and you know, it's very difficult to find a positive message after what happened last year, but I think I found a way. And over the years I've done shows about what I think are thorny subjects, things like dementia, divorce, depression and suicide, because like I say, 2016 was a shit year and it lasted 5 years. So these have been the subjects that I've had to deal with in my life. I want to throw some light on those. I've been doing comedy for 25 years, so the last jobs I had were hospitality and retail, so stuff that you do in the years after university. I went straight from university into working at BBC Radio 4 doing comedy. I still enjoy it. I still like the adrenaline. I like the instantaneous feedback. Comedians all have this weird medical condition where they don't naturally produce their own self-esteem, so they have to take a supplement. It's good. I like to sometimes sort of lean into it and see how far I can go, because I think a really good joke is woke, but also makes people see other sides of the argument. But I'm all for it and support it wholeheartedly. Well, I'd like that image to tell you the answer. Yeah, I'm batting above my usual batting average, so yeah, I did really well. I don't think it's losing its sense of humour. I think polarisation has become a really serious problem, both in the UK and the US, and that seems to be infecting other countries, that people are now very vehemently right or left, flat earth or round earth, because of the way that the social media is affecting us. Then yeah, people are less open to new ideas, I think. In the lifetime of my comedy career, I've noticed that. I do 2,000 crunches and 100,000 sit-ups. I'll have a glass of Diet Coke. Well, there was actually already a class clown at my school, so I played second fiddle to him. But when people ask me that question, I like to say I was the class clown's head writer. Because I was kind of, I knew I wanted to do comedy, but I was also very academic. But there was another kid called Terry, and he was very clown-like and would do lots of impressions of celebrities and teachers. So he was kind of the celebrity at my school, but I was the one who was going, I am going to write for talk radio.
Are you riffing on the Eugene Levy line from Waiting for Guffman, where he says he wasn't the class clown, but he sat next to the class clown and he studied him?
Well, I've always been a keen student of comedy, so when I was a kid, I'd listen to LPs of comedians that my dad liked.
Who, tell me
I wrote
who...
a show about it. I wrote a show saying that, you know,
who's
the reason I got
listened to?
into comedy is because my dad, as a Glaswegian, would listen to Billy Connolly albums with me when I was like 10, 11 years old. So that was my introduction to comedy.
Who do you really
definitely
admire?
Billy Connolly. And there's a few English comics who I love, people like Al Murray, Harry Hill. These are the people who, when I was starting out, were a big influence on me. I'm not going to talk numbers, that would be vulgar, but I hired this room, and then because it's not a Melbourne Comedy Festival managed room, I keep all the money. Whereas I think with the Melbourne Comedy Festival managed rooms, which I've played in the past, and they've been marvellous, I think there's a door split that's sort of geared into it as well. So the answer is, it all costs different amounts depending on where you are and who you are. Because Melbourne, they did fly people over, and I think obviously they couldn't do that this year. So in the past, some people would have been on a salary, but not many. Bit of both. Easy.
How so?
Well, some comedians I've seen are very effective, but I don't think they've got funny bones. Some people are just funny and then maybe have to learn the craft. So you can approach it from either way, I think.
Again, there's the movie Funny Bones with Jerry Lewis, in which he actually does a really wonderful speech to Oliver Platt, where he actually explains that you don't have funny bones.
Yes.
You don't have it in you.
I think that's where I got the phrase funny bones from.